Alright guys, I thought I'd do a video to kind of go over the Hoosier Tecmo League, what it's all about, try to keep this as short as possible. But I wanted everyone to see kind of some visuals of how things are going to work. First of all, I'm Derek Rubel. I'm known as Frozen Sith online, and when I played Tecmo, I was known as Tecmo Psycho. I have quite a bit of experience playing the game, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to kind of start this up, was to basically teach everybody what I know about the game, what others know about the game, and have fun in the process. So what is it? It's a live in-person league. So it's literally me bringing old school CRT televisions, original hardware NES, original controllers, all that stuff to a venue, which the venue is going to be at the Fortville VFW, and we would play one time a month, just once a month, so it's not too much of a demand. We'll figure out dates and times later, but we play once a month for 4 months, and at the end of those 4 sessions we would play a total of 16 games, like a regular season of Tecmo Super Bowl. The only catch is we're going to be playing with custom rosters. The main reason for this is because I kind of want to teach some trial and error, and I want to try to show people what works, what doesn't work. The best way to learn is to do something and then learn from it. If you have mistakes, which most of us will. So I'm going to go over how that process looks and what that's going to actually be like here in just a second. I've had a couple people ask if we could simultaneously, while we're playing this draft league, play original Tecmo Super Bowl, like Tecmo Super Bowl but with the original teams, and play it the way that they play it in tournaments, but play a league. So I'm going to leave that up to the league to decide. We can discuss that in the Discord, and I'm open to doing that if people want to do that as well, because there's a lot of things that you can teach with the original teams and matchup calling and things like that. So the first thing I wanted to kind of go over, and the reason why I wanted to do this league, I've created a website. So here's the website. I've created this website for you guys, and the number one reason why I want to start this league up is to teach people about the game. So these tabs up here control everything. Homepage just kind of tells you what it's all about. The rules just goes over the league rules and the gameplay rules, which we'll talk about those things later. There's a draft tab, which I'm going to talk about at the end of this video, and then there's a resources tab. Now this is the tab that everybody really needs, especially those of you who are not used to playing live Tecmo Super Bowl competitively. You really need to check this tab out. I basically created links, so if you just click on any of those links, I have created a lot of extensive details on how this game operates and kind of how things should go. As many aspects as I could. There's more I want to add to it, but these are some good things to get you started. There's even some stuff about playbooks, player ratings, so on and so forth. There's some videos with some how-tos that I would encourage you to check out before we start playing, just to give you some tips and some strategies. There's a league drafting, which actually goes into some strategy for people who have never done this before. I'm going to explain that at the end of the video. And there's even some things like the more you know, which are like odd occurrences in the games. This page really isn't done yet, but there's some odd things that maybe you didn't know about the game. And then the probabilities. I mean, this game's really detailed. There's people who play competitively that memorize all of these stats right here. So it's a lot to take in. It's pretty overwhelming, but we'll take things real easy, chunk it along. I'm going to try to keep the standings for the league and the stats for the league on this website as well, and we'll talk about that toward the end of the video. So The next thing is, so I want to make sure everyone learns as much as they possibly can from this league. At the same time, I want people to have fun. I want people to be able to compete. I think the ultimate goal is after a full season, maybe into a second season, maybe next year if people want to still do it, we start to get people to where they're really improving. They're getting better each and every time they play. They're learning a lot, and that's really the whole point of why I wanted to start something like this. So, how does this actually work? All right, well, on the screen here you can see this is actually the interface to an EverDrive. An EverDrive is a Nintendo cartridge. It's going to look a little funny because I've got some filters on my camera, but it's an EverDrive cartridge, Nintendo cartridge. It plugs right into a regular Nintendo. It has a flash card or an SD card at the top of the cartridge, so it plays original hardware. I'm not going to take it apart, but the inside of this is an actual motherboard, just like the regular Nintendo cartridges. The only difference is that it has all 7 types of motherboards in one board. So it's a pretty expensive piece of technology. I have 3 of these, and so that should be enough to get us along if we have 9 people in a league, which I think will be okay. If we ever expand or this gets a lot bigger, we may need to try to invest into some more EverDrives. But basically, I've learned how to hack ROMs. It's basically taking the original game and just modifying some things in the ROM itself. So I'm just going to show you a quick example of how this works. So this is what it would look like when you start up a game. This right here is the original Tecmo Super Bowl. Whoops, I'm on a delay, so we gotta time the arrow here. That's exactly like the original Tecmo Super Bowl. This example that I'm going to show you is called Franchise Bowl, and there was a tournament several years ago that people got fake money and they got to build a team with the original players. So let me go ahead and open this up real quick, and I want to show you exactly how this is going to look and how it's going to work and how it's going to feel. So it's the actual same game, no changes to the game itself. And then if I go to the team data screen, it's probably easier for me just to look at the television here. I'm going to go to the Colts because in that particular tournament I was the Colts team. As you can see, the roster is completely different. So this was my offensive team for that tournament. And I did not fare very well in this tournament. Made a lot of mistakes, but as you can see, I've got John Elway as my quarterback, Christian Okoye. So if I click on Christian Okoye, everything's the same. All the stats are the same. All the ratings are the same. It's just he's on the Colts instead of the Chiefs. Okay? Plays exactly the same, everything. Defense, same thing. If I click back on Indiana or Indianapolis, and then I go over to the defensive side of the ball, you can see that this is what my defense looked like. Defense wasn't very good, but that was my defense. And so we are going to do the exact same thing. We're going to draft our own players onto one of these ROMs. And then I'll put that ROM onto the 3 EverDrives. And then basically I'll set it up to where each time that we meet once a month for 4 months, we'll be playing on those EverDrives, and we'll be playing league games that will keep stats. And then all I have to do is pop the SD card at the end of the games, or at the end of the day, probably. I probably do it at the end of the day, and I can upload all of those stats to my computer, and it'll go straight into the website. And that's how the EverDrives work on the actual Nintendo hardware. The next thing I wanted to go over was the draft. So if I go back to this website here, you'll notice that there's a draft page, and it goes over draft procedures. And then there is also a spreadsheet. If you click on this spreadsheet right here, and it brings up the spreadsheet with different tabs here at the bottom: gold, silver, bronze, scrubs, juice. These are players that completely change the face of the game. This first season, I wanted to eliminate a lot of the juice players. So none of these guys will be available in the draft. I do have an idea, if people like this league and they want to continue to do this, that people who finish lower in the standings, who maybe aren't quite as good when we first start off, I feel like maybe in the second season they'll be able to draft a juice player to maybe even some things out or to make the games more competitive or more interesting. So the juice players are off limits this year for this season. So for the draft, we got our 9 owners right now. There's a possibility that there could be 2 more, maybe 3. Still waiting to hear from them. But you basically have to draft 1 of each of these spots right here. And so the safety position down there at the bottom is 2 safeties. So you get both safeties. It's like a package deal. Cornerbacks is a package deal. Inside linebackers is a package deal. So the 2 middle linebackers. And all those pairings or tandems are the same as they are on the original game. Kicker, punter is together from the same team. OL, all 5 guys in their original spots. And then the wide receivers through tight ends, there's 6 spots there. You can draft anybody you want as long as they're a wide receiver or a tight end. And you can put them wherever you want as far as wide receiver or tight end. They just can't run the football. They can't rush. They can't be a primary rusher. Running backs 1 through 4, you'll draft 4 running backs. They're the only ones that can actually, run the A and up, A and down, A and right, A and left plays. And then, of course, your QB1 and your QB2, your quarterbacks. And so that's the draft itself. We are going to determine the order of the draft right now in this video. I'm going to do it with a randomizer roll. But before I do that, I want to explain the tiers. So let's just say that I'm the first draft pick. This is just the order people signed up in. Let's say I'm the first draft pick. Obviously, I'm probably going to want to go gold tier with my first pick. You don't have to. If your strategy is you want to start off with the scrub tier and maybe get the best of the scrubs, go right ahead. Like that, you're welcome to do that. But when you pick in the draft, there's 19 rounds. You only get 1 offensive gold tier player. So let's just say, I'll just take the first person there on the left. So let's just say that in the first round I picked Dan Marino. That means no other person in the league can draft Dan Marino. It also means that I can no longer, the rest of the 18 remaining rounds, pick anybody from this left side of the gold tier chart. I'm completely done. So if I want a good running back or I want a good wide receiver to go with Dan Marino, I would have to pull them from the silver chart. You can't take more than 1 gold player in the draft. Now, let's say that in round 1 I take Dan Marino. Everybody else in the draft drafts their position that they want, and we get to round 2. Well, round 2, and it's a snake draft. So the way that would work is that I'm the first one. I go all the way down through the whole league, and then whoever was dead last, which on this example, let's just say Tom was dead last, Tom would then get 2 picks in a row. Tom would get round 1, and then he would get his round 2 pick first. And then it would have to work its way all the way back to me before I got my second round pick. So let's just say we get back to me on my second round pick. I probably want to go with a gold tier defensive player or players. But once I pick from that right side of the chart and I picked my gold defensive either player or players, looks like they're all players, tandems, I can no longer choose any gold tier defensive players, if that makes sense. And then in the subsequent rounds, you're allowed to pick 1 silver offense, 1 silver defense. You're allowed to pick 1 bronze offense, 1 bronze defense. And then once those 6 picks are filled out, you'll have to pick the remaining people from the scrub list, the scrub positions. If for some reason, and I think I've done the math correctly and I think we're going to be okay, but if for some reason we get a position that runs out of spots and we don't have enough scrub people in those spots, I'm going to take an average of all the ratings on Tecmo Super Bowl and I'm going to make a generic player, which won't have like a real name. It'll just be, it might even be called random player, and they'll get the baseline stats of the scrub list. They'll get an average of all the scrubs if in the event we run out of spots for that position. So what I would like to do right now is I would like to go, how will we do this draft? All of you have signed up for Discord. You can run Discord off of your phone, which is the way I think that you should do it, because you get notifications when new things happen. But you can also run this off of a laptop or off of a home computer or PC. You just go to google.com, you type in the word Discord, it'll bring you to this screen. You click Open Discord. You don't have to download any programs. This is web-based. And it brings up this screen right here. So as you can see, yours is going to look quite a bit different. Over here, these are all the people that I follow, and I'm in their servers. But this little icon right here, this is my server. And inside my server, you'll see the Hoosier Tecmo League. And then on the one that says Draft, I'll click on that. I don't want anybody to post in here until it's time for you to draft your pick. This is exactly how the draft will work. We'll determine the draft order. And then once I assign, hey, this is the first day. This is going to be the first day of the draft. Whoever the first pick is, I'll say, you have the first pick. You have your 3 hours. So I understand people's got a life. They got things they got to do. But we're going to put a 3-hour time limit on picks. And so, let's say I was the first one to pick, and I picked Dan Marino. I would go first round, I choose quarterback Dan Marino. And then that's it. There's no other, you don't type anything else. And then I'm the moderator. I'll get in there and I'll say, okay, so-and-so is the next person up. You have 3 hours. If for some reason someone does not pick their player in the 3 hours, you get skipped. And so we go through the entire first round. If you got skipped, then you can pick after everybody else is picked. If for some reason you still haven't picked by the next day when we start round 2, I'll probably talk with Kyle, regulator. He's pretty knowledgeable about the game too, and we will make a draft pick that's appropriate for you. We're not going to screw anybody over. We want to give everybody the best team that we can. We want this to be competitive. So that's how the draft is going to work. That's why I wanted you guys to all get Discord. The other thing about Discord right now I'd want everybody to look at here is this schedule. I've already posted some information in here, but as soon as we're done with the draft, I do want to start having a conversation about what days and what times each month is going to work for everybody. It is impossible to take 9 people and say, we're going to do it on Saturday, we're going to do it at 10 a.m. You just got to be there. Some people work, some people can't get out of work. So we've got to talk and try to figure out the best for the consensus of the group. If for some reason we end up coming to a consensus and that consensus decision is not something that's going to work for you, and you're going to miss more than one of the 4 sessions or 4 meetings that we have, unfortunately there's not a whole lot we can do about that. We got to do what's best for the whole group to get everybody there. If for some reason we start this up and you don't show up for one of your sessions, we have to make it pretty harsh. Otherwise, people will just come and go as they please. Right now, I'm not going to put the money component on it until we start having a discussion about dates and times, seeing how people can make it and everything. But if you miss the week, you miss all 4 games. You don't get to make those games up. You just go 0-4. You lose you don't get stats for that game. It's basically a huge loss if you miss that 1 week. So 4 times out of a whole year, once a month, that's not a whole lot of time commitment. So we're hoping we can lock down some dates and times to where everybody can make it. All right, so next up, let me check my video and see if I'm still on the right pages. Okay. So next up is the roles. This first role, this is a randomizer. If you've never seen this before, I've typed all 9 people in the order in which they signed up. This first role that we're going to do is going to determine franchises. So this isn't draft order. This isn't anything like that. This is just going to determine which team you're going to control and put your guys on your team. So we're all from Indiana, so maybe a lot of people like the Colts. Maybe more than one person wants the Colts. And so that's the reason why we're doing this. But what we're going to do is I'm going to hit randomize. And I'm going to hit it 3 times. So this is the initial order. We're going to hit it once. We're going to hit it twice. I'm going to hit it a 3rd time. And then on the 4th roll, that's going to determine the order for the picking of the franchises. And we're going to pick those franchises as soon as I'm done uploading this video. So randomizer. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. Here's the third one. And whatever order this next one is going to be the order. All right. So the order is Derek, Gary, Brian, Sean, Aaron, Mike, Tom, Brad, and Kyle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that order. Control C. I'm going to go to the draft spreadsheet here. I'm going to insert a column to the right. I'm just going to call this franchise. Put the order here. I'm going to add a column to the right. I'm going to put draft here. And what we are going to do is we're going to do it that exact same way. Whoops. And site can't be reached. What? Let's try this. There we go. That's not what I wanted. List randomizer, that's what I wanted. There we go. So I'm going to type the names again. I think Brad was second to sign up, and then it was Kyle, and then it was Mike, and then it was Gary. And then it was Aaron, Sean, Brian, Tom. This time we are going to do it the exact same way. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got all 9 people in there. I'm going to do the 3 times, then the 4th one's going to be the one. That's just to mix them up. It's like shuffling a deck. Just so people, I'm not trying to cheat or anything like that. So there's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. This next one is going to be the one that counts. And there's 4. So the list order is going to be Brian, Gary, Brad, Derek, Sean, Kyle, Mike, Tom, Aaron. That's the order for the draft. And we're not starting the draft right away. We're going to do the franchises first. But I'm going to go ahead and do this for the order. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to make it look nice and pretty. Well, maybe. Wish I had my mouse. This trackpad's not good for me. There we go. And so I will go back to the video. Take this off. Drop my controller. And so I just wanted to do that. It was looks like it was 24 minutes. A lot of it was me scrambling to type stuff and rambling on. If you like these type of videos and you like to see the visuals or the explanations, let me know. Give me some feedback. I can do these. These aren't any problem at all for me. But what we're going to do next is I'm going to put this on YouTube. I'm going to embed it into both the website and the Discord channel. And then I'm going to I think I was the first pick for franchises. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons. So there you go. Whoever's second, they can go ahead and start figuring out who they want. And then we'll start like a list in the Discord for picking the franchises. All right, guys, it's pretty exciting. Ready to start this up